Hey, how you doing? My name is Ashiato, and I'm coming to you with Thoughts of a Black Sheep. So today the topic is going to be on being misunderstood. So I want to go back to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was sheltered from a lot of things in like black culture, like as far as in entertainment and movies wise, and I didn't grow up with a father. And then a lot of the kids I grew up with did just so happen to not be into certain things like playing basketball or football and stuff like that. So I didn't grow up around like the kids that played sports. It was more like we were all just going to the park and doing stuff, and climbing trees and like kid stuff, going to the park. But I was still like sheltered at the same time to where I didn't understand it. It's like I was in the culture, but I just didn't know what the culture was around me and what was going on. But like when I used to go to school, I used to listen to music on the radio going to school, or sometimes my mom would wake us up on those Sunday mornings and or Saturday mornings and open the blinds, and the sun would be beaming in my eyes, waking us up, and all we heard was like loud R&B music and radio rap music on our way to school or something like that. That's the only music I knew. With that being said, I would say, in my opinion, with different generations, we evolve, you know, with entertainment. And entertainment is just like art, and art just reflects real life. So like, you know, we evolve. It's like a lot of the entertainment, like when I used to watch Tom and Jerry, when I did have it, like it was like a glimpse into the past, kind of, because like you look at the old lady, like you look at sometimes at like just how their houses and stuff were. You look at like Scooby-Doo, like they were showing us kind of like those people were already adults that were drawing these cartoons, and they were just drawing like what life they were implementing like the reality they kind of came from in these cartoons. So we were kind of like seeing like what life was a little bit like from where they were coming from, like the 80s or the 70s. And we would see that in the cartoons. But I feel like when we're growing up and we start drawing cartoons, like in our generation, we're going to draw stuff and have like different references to certain things from our generation. You know, so I feel like, you know, we see how entertainment grows and affects us and as culture, you know. So with that being said, like, internet became a thing. When internet was becoming a thing in my generation. Like I didn't grow up with it, but then when it became a thing, like the school I was going to in high school, they gave us these giant computers. Like we had the old school computers, like that were big and yellow. They didn't give us no Wi-Fi with it. We had a computer. We had to get our own Wi-Fi, but they gave it to us so we can study and stuff like that. But anime was a thing that was bubbling up in our generation. Like a little bit before, you know, like Dragon Ball Z was older than what I was, born in the 90s, but like it was bubbling up. And at a certain point, I'm gonna skip to Naruto. When Naruto was a thing, that was one of the animes I got into. I absolutely loved as a kid. Still do as an adult. And the internet became a thing. I used to go to school and I would search, when I didn't have a computer, I would search for Naruto fight scenes and just like look for websites that could show me different the future episodes that I couldn't see, because the only thing I had was cartoons or Cartoon Network to watch it on. I had to wait, you know, in the afternoon just to watch it or something if I had cable. The internet became a thing and anime was a thing. I used to go on YouTube. What was popular or used to be popping a lot was AMVUs. I forgot what it exactly means, but it was just basically like a music video. And like, for the most part, it was like what I was searching up was music video. It would be like the fight scenes, like it'd be like Naruto versus Sasuke, but then it had like music playing behind it. Pretty much, the music would kind of go along with the fight, you know, to kind of make it extra hype. But when I used to find like these different AMVUs and go on LimeWire, sometimes LimeWire would just have these different songs. In my particular case, like I was just blessed that one of my uncles had an iPad. I used to just upload and listen to the random music on there at a certain point, but I didn't have that always. As technology progressed, like iPads became a thing. That was something that just found its way into my hands. You know, I didn't grow up with it. It just eventually came to me is what I'm saying. So I would just go on the internet. Sometimes I would download songs, and I started with AMVUs. So when I went to go watch AMVUs, sometimes they'll have rock music. When I was growing up, rock music was just like considered to be devil music. And then when they would say devil music, I didn't when I was a kid, I was always curious. I was like, really? Listening to these, I would just go to the computer just to watch these Naruto fights, but it'd be like Linkin Park playing on these AMVUs. Maybe like Korn or Limp Bizkit playing on these AMVUs. I used to kind of be like hiding it, like I was ashamed. But then after a while, I was like, nah, this stuff kind of banged to me. And then that's how I started like liking rock music. And as I started like getting into the rock music, I used to go to LimeWire like everybody else, and you click on the song, next you know you got a Soulja Boy song, and I go click on all these different rock songs, and sometimes the songs wouldn't even be the right songs, and I would have a whole playlist of just like all these different rock songs. And then, like I said, I didn't grow up with that, and I don't think I ever would have got into rock music if like in my generation, if internet wasn't like a thing like that. But when it became a thing, I got exposed to a lot of different kinds of music that I wouldn't have got into. But me, the kind of person I was, or kid I was curious to explore these different things to see if I liked it. And some things I liked, some things I didn't like. Like I didn't like classical music, but later on as I got older, that's something I started to appreciate and like. Same thing with like jazzy type of things and neo soul. Like a lot of things I didn't like as a kid, some things I just, as I got older, and I allowed myself to be curious and open-minded to check out these things, I end up liking what I like. But I'm saying all this to say, that's just what I think about, like how generations kind of evolve. With all this being said, like me having these different interests it just made me weird. Like I was into different things, and then like the things that were popular, I wasn't really into. And me not being into like what was popular in the like culture we were in, I would get misunderstood. Like I would get misunderstood because it would be like, aren't you black? Why do you talk white? Why are you not into this? How come you don't like basketball? It was just like and when you weren't into something, like when I was growing up where everybody was into it, it always had a like negative thought process behind it. Like it was just like being different wasn't a good thing. It was just like, nah, you weird. And that's where being misunderstood started in my younger years. Like I used to always feel misunderstood turned into rejection turned into sadness and low self-esteem and sometimes depression. With all these different things I was into, it wasn't the normal kind of things. And as I've gotten older, and I'm 31 now, but I'm saying like when I was 20, when I was 18, it was different. When I was 22, it was different. When I was 25, it was different. It was like when I was 27, me being just transparent, I would say from 18 really, like when I was younger, it's like I always knew like you shouldn't care what other people think. I always knew that, but it still affected me and it was still hard to get over. It really didn't just like completely die honestly for me till like around, like I would still be myself but not fully. That was like my thing. Like I feel like I could never fully be myself, but when I was younger it was a lot worse. Like I would just be introverted just because for the most part I would get rejected. It wasn't like a thought process like I might get rejected. I would just flat out get rejected. Like I get embarrassed sometimes. Like people would go out their way to try and embarrass me, like situations like that. But I get embarrassed and straight up rejected. Just you're weird, because you're into this. But and that was the kind of environment I was into. Like, but also what I'm saying too is like when you look at our generation now, you still got like the street niggas and people that are into like that type of thing. Like I got homies I grew up with that are just like that. Like they're just streets and that's all they want to know and choose to know and kind of want to be involved in. And then like I look at like my peers like that grew up in the same generation, like that are like influencers or just big now, like, and I see like how the generation has changed, you know, like I was saying earlier, like how what those people like artists used to draw in their cartoons back in the day, like Scooby-Doo, like the world they were coming from. It's kind of like you see how like you see it now where you see like a young black man that's now like my age, 30, and like you see how they make content about anime, and there's a whole lane where that stuff is cool now, and you see how many other people out there connect with it, and you see how many people like, and what I'm saying is like being misunderstood used to feel so bad, and to me, and then like when being misunderstood came the rejection, and with the rejection I used to want the opposite. I used to want to be accepted by most people. Like you want to be the people that are accepted are the popular ones that we see. And I'm not saying in every case, but a lot of cases, like a lot of those popular people, well, I say it like this: when I got into adulthood and I was working different jobs and stuff like that, and it'd be certain environments where there would be a culture at the job or something like that. Like one job I was working, it was a definite culture there, and like at this time I've already did not care about fitting into anybody's like social groups or whatever like that. Like so it was different at that point for me. But I just remember how like sometimes people make you feel like you should feel weird for not fitting in, you know. But over time, and this is the point of my message, I'm saying is to learn to be okay to be misunderstood. Reason why is because like when I was even at this job I was going to, this particular job where it was very social, a lot of those people that were social with each other were not very discerning or analytical about the people they had around them. They would always kind of think everybody was cool just because everybody wanted to be cool with each other. And then like it'd be like people that wasn't even really there for you. They're just waiting to backstab you or use you in some type of way. It was very non-genuine, and a lot of people would be oblivious to like the kinds of people they would just like let into their circle. Or if they wasn't oblivious and they seen like what kind of people were, it would just be like people didn't even really set like boundaries to, you know, separate themselves. And I'm not saying for them to just reject them, but it was just like people would act funny. It's hard to explain, but like it was just like people were being funny and inviting funny energy and didn't really care about it all around. And so for me, it was just like sometimes somebody wouldn't like me, and it would, as I gotten older, I would just be like, this is a time where I already knew like it didn't matter if people like me or not, but how some people react as I've gotten older, which is I'm talking about the change that I had to learn, was like I didn't care, and I wasn't going to compromise myself to try to fit in or to turn a blind eye to like the bullshit like people try to present to me, like I'm supposed to accept it. Like I don't see who you are. I don't see that you're a snake. And I used to, like when I was younger, I would feel like, dang, I'm missing out on like this crowd. But then reality is just like I used to feel like I was missing out, and they would think the same thing, like he's not nobody. And the reality of it was just I didn't see my value, and they didn't see my value. But what mattered was what I seen about myself, you know. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to say, like to you guys, whoever listens. It's not about how they see you. It's about how you see yourself. It's about how you begin to validate yourself. So even when people do misunderstand you, people do reject you, it doesn't matter, because that's where it got to the point where like it didn't matter as much, where people didn't understand me or people rejected me. It didn't matter. And when it didn't matter to me, I felt more peace. I felt peace. It was just like, okay. And like I used to hate when I had like my side of the story where I need to tell it, or if I did tell my side of the story, still get misunderstood in different cases. Like, but when I just accepted it, like, I'm not the one that's missing out. You guys are the ones that are missing out on me, because I matter to me and I have to live with me at the end of the day. I have to, you know, when I develop my self-esteem to be like, I'm worth something, and I build up the confidence in who I am, to where it's just like, I know myself, I validate myself, I love myself, and and I have to matter to myself, and I accept that, then like, being misunderstood is like, for me, it doesn't go away, and everybody's gonna, I think we all gonna like misunderstand. We're not just gonna completely understand anyone to the T, but when we understand who we are, it's just like, when it comes to like the validation of how somebody in their story and how they see you, you might be whatever, I don't know. In their eyes, you're an elephant, but you know who you are, you know. Their eyes, you're an elephant. You might know that you're an eagle. I don't know. It's whatever. It's just like, so it's just whatever. Like, whatever people think, the peace in being okay with being misunderstood is just like letting people see you how they see you in their story. It's not about their story when it comes to that. It's about how you see yourself. And that's it. You know, the only person that's going to understand you fully is God, if you believe in God. And that's it. You can have best friends. Like, people can know you well, but like, no one's going to just like fully understand you to the essence of who you are deep down in your soul, because we all go through changes. We might evolve. You're going to do some, you might end up doing something like people might not expect. You know, you might, like I said, you might evolve. Like to me, the caterpillar is the same as the butterfly. It's just, they went through some changes and became different. Their perspective's different. They see things in the higher view. I'm saying that in the positive light, you know. They grew still the same person, same creature, but they evolved, you know. Still the same, like, you know, and that's just what it is. Like, and you might get different viewpoints, but that's pretty much the point of this. I dealt with being overlooked, and that used to hurt me. Being misunderstood used to hurt me. Being rejected used to hurt me. But then when I let that go, it opened up like a big space for me to be like, okay, they're not gonna like, if people are not, and if I had this in my mind, like, if people are not gonna accept me anyways, they're gonna reject me anyways, like, why not even just be myself even more? You know, like, why not? Some people, you know, and they think like, well, maybe if they're not accepting me, do whatever to be accepted. I feel like that comes from the opposite. Like, you don't know yourself, and to be accepted, you're willing to really just compromise yourself to be accepted, because you feel like that's who you are, is finding an acceptance of everybody else, what's cool, what's not cool. You know, that's what you build yourself off, and that always changes. What's cool is always going to change. Like, anime could actually one day just be the most, like, that could be the popular thing, like all the jocks are into in the later generation or something, and there might be a new thing that come up, and people feel isolated because they're not into anime, like, if that's the future or something, you know. What's the wave will always change, and it's just like, if you just accept and validate yourself, like, the people that are going to be drawn to you are the ones that are not going to miss out on you. People that just can't accept you or are going to misunderstand you, let them. Like I said, like, when you value yourself, you got to make it about you in that point. It's like they're the ones missing out on you, you know. And that's something I wish I would have like learned when I was like younger, or just had it in my system more, like had it in my heart more, to really like cling on to that. Was just like, I'm not the one missing out. They're the ones missing out. I'm cool because I'm cool by my standards, not because what people standards are of whatever they think is cool. It's because I accept myself, I validate myself, and that's all that matters. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. you know, and that's just how it is with people. Like when I wanted to be accepted, you would think I would want to fit into this crowd, but like that crowd was probably bad for you. You know, it would have probably been hell. Like, and like you're over here in peace without them. And that's what it could be. You could just be without peace, without having to be in everybody's crowd, because you wanted to be accepted to be in that crowd. You know, like your real crowd is like the people, like I said, like it's people my age that are in my peer group, and like they're influencers and they make anime content, and like there's a crowd of like people that love what they do. Maybe they don't know them like in a personal sense, but I'm saying like in your real life, like you'll find your crowd in your real life, and like they'll accept you. Like it'd be those people that really talk to you, and not on no funny stuff, but it will just be like they find you interesting as a person, and they will be more accepting. Like they may not understand everything about you, like you won't understand everything about them, but they will be more receptive, and there will be like a genuine kind of like bond there, versus the opposite of you trying to fit in to have people accept you. So my message is be okay with being misunderstood. Let people miss out on you. Be okay with being rejected. The right people accept you. Accept yourself first. Validate yourself first. Get to know yourself first. Learn to have self-love. And that's pretty much it. This is Ashiato, thoughts of a black sheep on being misunderstood. All right, peace out.